Is bullying the most timeless style of motivation? What about in our own lives? Can we be master in one context and slave in another? When a boy walks into a room, what is he complimented on? His strength, his intelligence, his masculinity. Does he have control over this? Yes, he does. He can become smarter, he can become stronger. When a girl walks into a room, what is she complimented on? I'll give you a hint. "Ah, she looks so pretty." That's right, her looks. Does she have control over this? No, she doesn't. From a very young age, we teach males to be valued for things over which they have full control, and females to be valued for things over which they have no control. I failed in the beauty criteria, as I did in the intelligence and behavior criteria too. My family had a long list of nicknames for me: Dumb, Hurricane, the Complainer. Those are 3 I can translate into English. Dumb, because I wasn't smart by South Asian standards. At the end of first grade, I was ranked 22nd out of 30 students. Somehow, in second grade, I was ranked first. And the questions I was asked were, what went wrong? Were you the only kid in the class? Apparently, I didn't stay on brand. Hurricane, because I was a storm in a teacup. Perhaps I still am. This was the reaction I gave to those nicknames. My family found these reactions cute, adorable, and funny. The more I tried to complain about these nicknames, the more they teased. And that's how I got the nickname, the Complainer. This was their way of showing me affection and love. For me, I didn't want that kind of love, nor attention. So I started motivating myself to do better, to be better, because I wanted to stop being identified by those nicknames. To this end, I took on 3 personas: the Underdog, the Pollyanna, and the Gold Digger. No, not a gold digger, a goal chaser, an overachiever. I started racking up degrees and certifications: accounting, financial management, CGMA, CPA, to name 4 out of the 11 certifications I hold. What was my purpose? To prove I wasn't dumb. By the time I was 18 years old, I could speak 4 languages fluently. If anyone heard me speak over the phone, they couldn't tell where I was from. Every time someone told me I couldn't do something, I took it on as a challenge to prove them wrong. And that's how I became the Underdog. After my second child was born, I shared my desire to want to get back to my pre-pregnancy weight with a family member. They told me it was impossible. So I did what any normal person would do. I embarked on a mission to prove them wrong. Over the course of 11 months, I lost more weight than I had gained during both of my pregnancies. But that wasn't enough for me. I had to overachieve it. I went on to be featured in an international fitness magazine twice. Twice, I was invited to participate in an international bodybuilding competition. What did the family member have to say? They took one look at me and said, "Your face has lost its charm because of the weight loss." Alas, I failed in the beauty criteria yet again. Truth be told, I turned to fitness to overcome postpartum depression. Because of the depression, I could only do the bare minimum. There were days when I couldn't do even that. I was severely criticized for this, and this made me feel like a bad person and a bad mother. There were others who felt this way about me too. The criticism was disguised as offering advice, telling me what I could do better, because somehow that was supposed to help me. When I asked for help with those suggestions, I was told I didn't need it. This is how I learned to tell the difference between those who really want to help and those who don't. Criticism might motivate others, but for me, it made me feel utterly alone and defeated. The criticism aggravated the depression. The depression became so severe that for 2 years, I had only one thought: how was I going to kill myself? Every day, all day, just one thought. What stopped me was my children, but not in the way you think. What if the day I chose to kill myself, my husband was late coming home from work, and my children were left unsupervised for longer than 15 minutes? Even in death, I would have been a bad mother. Friends started disappearing from my life because I had become the complainer, just like my nickname. I finally found the courage to go to a walk-in clinic, and I saw a South Asian doctor. He told me what I've heard from countless other South Asians. It's not about you anymore. It's about your children. Nobody's going to rescue you. Don't expect them to. So I didn't expect anyone to rescue me, that is. I rescued myself. I took my negative feelings to the mat. Working out became a distraction, a way to mask the negative feelings with endorphins, like covering an infection with a Band-Aid. On days when working out wasn't enough to cover that infection, I recited positive affirmations and wrote out gratitude lists, furiously so. I had become the Pollyanna, the toxically positive person. I denied myself the human experience of having negative feelings because it reminded me that I had once thought of suicide. Let me take a step back here and ask you this. How does a bully make you feel? Afraid, judged, threatened, criticized, intimidated. As the gold digger, I appeared extremely successful on the outside. But what was really driving my actions? I was afraid of failing and then being judged and criticized for failing. Afraid, judged, criticized. Isn't that how a bully makes you feel? As the underdog, I was driven by the desire to prove my naysayers wrong. But what really drove my actions? I was afraid of failing and then being judged, criticized, and even made fun of if I failed. Afraid, judged, criticized. Isn't that how a bully makes you feel? As the Pollyanna, I came across as this excessively positive person. But what really drove my positivity? I felt afraid, intimidated, and even threatened by my negative thoughts. Afraid, threatened, intimidated. Isn't that how a bully makes you feel? While I appeared extremely successful on the outside, I was just bullying myself to be successful, for the sole purpose of trying to find my identity outside of the nicknames that I was called. I didn't see it as bullying because it was disguised as motivation due to the fact that these are personas we look up to and admire. The gold digger, the underdog, the Pollyanna. Did you know that there are more than 10 ways in which we bully ourselves, but we fail to recognize it because we give it the name of motivation? Sometimes we give it the name of being kind. No one is born bullying themselves. So where does this behavior come from? In my experience, it comes from one of two places. It's our response to what other people say and believe about us, and we give them control over our actions. Or replicating the behavior of a role model adult or someone in your immediate environment without questioning whether that behavior is healthy or not. Think of perfectionism. In order to stop bullying myself, I needed to discover who I was. I mean, how are you supposed to love yourself if you don't even know who you are? Who am I really? I'm not my personality test. I'm not my Enneagram number. Because I've changed over time, it's called growth. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. Are you the same person you were 5 years ago? I'm not what I do. I'm not what I have. I'm not my behavior. I'm not my career. Who I am is deeper than my gender, my race, my upbringing, and my possessions. People say nature versus nurture. I say who I am is more powerful than both, because who I am is discovered, not invented. Do you have the courage to discover who you really are? Thank you.